It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. 2 more American service members are dead, and many more likely wounded after Iranian missiles struck a U.S. base in Jordan. Donald Trump was reportedly golfing when he got the news. His first statement about the deaths came when a News Nation reporter called him at his golf club.
So Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, you just got off the phone with the president. Give us some insight. What did he say during that conversation?
Xavier, that's right. We hadn't heard from the president yet about these deaths, so we decided to call him to see if he had a reaction. And that was the first thing I asked him, what his reaction was to the news of these 2 U.S. service members that were killed in Iranian attacks yesterday. The president telling me he finds it very sad. He says it's a very sad thing. We hate to see it happen. But then the president told me it's in service to our country. They're never going to allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And that's a line we've heard from the president before. We know that is his driving force that he has repeatedly said when it comes to this war in Iran. And I quickly asked him what he thought of Iran also saying this weekend that it no longer plans to follow that memorandum of understanding. The president telling me I couldn't care less.
If it's not already blindingly obvious, this administration has no idea what it's doing when it comes to Iran. The rationale for this war has gone from unconditional surrender to opening the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war started, to eliminating Iran's missile threat. On that note, how many times has Pete Hegseth assured us that Iran's offensive capabilities have been decimated, only to see Iran launch an attack like this? By the way, Hegseth's response to the deaths of those 2 service members was to put out a post on social media saying, quote, "Their sacrifice only stiffens our resolve." Can you imagine being the family of one of those service members, seeing the Secretary of Defense treat the loss of their loved one like some kind of tribute? It's abhorrent, and it's no wonder morale in the military is cratering. That is awful. But it's also an opportunity to get the truth about this administration to people who once supported it. One of the things we have to do as a resistance movement is make room for defections, for people who may be realizing late, but are realizing nonetheless that the path Trump has taken them down is a dead end for them and for the country. One of the ways to reach this audience is with trusted messengers, and vets are near the top of that list. There's never been a more opportune moment to break into the MAGA information silos. Military veterans can be really good at this. They're one of the few groups that still holds trust with a broad swath of Americans from both sides of the political spectrum. And one of the vets who seems to have cracked the code is an old friend of mine who has blown up on social media. You may know him as Angry Male Vet. You may have seen one or many of his viral posts like this one where he happened to catch Kristi Noem at a buffet somewhere in the Midwest. Angry, as he likes to be called in interviews, is delivering hard truths to people who need to hear them. This is a fun one. Here's my conversation with Angry Male Vet. Angry, welcome to the show. I think I should probably explain to the audience why I'm calling one of my closest Ohio friends by his call sign. And let's make this a teachable moment. Our politics has gotten kind of crazy. There are moments that I wish I could go back and do this show under something other than my real name. But as you have explained to me before, there are risks you take when you put yourself out there like you do as one of these viral TikTok veteran influencers opining about the corruption and brutality of this administration. You kind of invite a target on your chest when you do that, and you go by Angry because of that.
Yeah, I do.
In addition to being angry.
And it's the internal angry. It's not really like a front-facing
right.
thing, but it's always sitting in there. I had somebody say, you're the most zen, angry person I've ever seen. And I like that. I really do. But it's one of those things where for as long as possible, I'm going to minimize the harassment to myself and my community. And I also kind of like the fact that I think there are a ton of angry male vets out there. There's a ton of angry female vets out there. And so just having that as more of like a symbolic thing instead of it making it about just my name and getting off that, it seems appropriate right now. And I feel, a little better, especially my opinions are very upfront and authentic about a lot of different things. And I'm going to keep that going as long as possible, but I'm going to try to minimize the harassment as well if I can.
Hey, it's Ken. Quick break to let you know that I am heading back to Ukraine soon. So many of you stepped up to help the 34th Marine Brigade, the unit I've been embedding with the past couple years. They desperately needed a new motor for their rescue boat, and you came through. Thank you. There are so many other urgent needs, though. This unit is the one at the heart of the MeidasTouch and Valor Media film Drone Hunters of Kherson, and they're the ones defending that city every day against nonstop Russian drone attacks against civilians. I have seen them in action. I've been on patrol with them. This is actually the wreckage of a Russian suicide drone shot down by one of those teams. I've even been pinned down in a bunker with them as wave after wave of Russian drones hammered our frontline position. But because of the extraordinary heroism of people like Adama, commander of a drone team I embedded with, Ukraine will win this war. The more help they get, the faster that can happen. Units like the 34th are constantly having to make do with whatever equipment they can scrape together, which is especially challenging for a unit that operates attack drone teams, river assault crews, counter drone patrols. The 34th does it all. If you participated in the first fundraiser we held, thank you. I've just launched another one. This time, we're not capping the goal, which we hit practically overnight last time. If you can help out, please click the link in the show notes. Your support will save lives. Thank you. One of the things I really want to talk to you about, and it's in this same vein, is the burden that folks that look like you and me need to start shouldering for a variety of reasons, some obvious, some less obvious. One is the trusted messenger trope. We can reach Trump affiliated audiences that would shut other messengers out. The other is that in spite of the targets on us that you just described, we can take risks that some of our friends cannot, especially in public places. I'm thinking about some of the marches I've been involved with, and the thought of, I don't have to think as carefully about being in the front of one of those marches. I've never had to square off against ICE, but that's sort of the scenario I have in mind. And we're received differently by agents of our government wielding batons than some of our friends are. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, no, I think because of the way we look, my personal opinion is we have a duty and responsibility to be the loudest voices in the room. We, the people, never differentiated between white, black, who you love, what religion you were, anything. It's we, the people. And white men have run this country. And so white men have supported the people running this country. That is the biggest base of individuals that we're seeing, especially with this current administration. And we need to be the loudest voice of pushback about what is going on. And I think it throws people off. I think that because of what has been built over multiple decades, people are told, like, white men, strong, veterans, they will push for a Republican administration and, super defense and whatever they want to do. And we have found that not to be the case, and that following that thread leads us to disaster. So I think that it kind of scares the Republican Party, current Republican Party, the administration, when they see white faces, especially veterans, pushing back against it, because they've been telling people for years, like, that's, one of the core points of their, support. And so I think it's our duty and responsibility. Like, we took an oath against foreign and domestic, and we're watching fascism on the rise, continuing to rise. And, that oath never expired. And so as a white male individual, I have a privilege where I can walk into spaces, just like you're saying, and not feel as threatened as a woman, as a person of color, as a gay individual, LGBTQ. I can walk into those spaces and have a certain sense of security. And instead of just using that and standing to the side, I need to use that to protect and support we the people, because that's what it's all about.
How did you get into all of this? Did you 5 years ago ever expect that you would be one of the loudest voices on TikTok for the pro-democracy, white male, angry male veteran perspective? How did this all start for you?
Yeah, so Ken, I thought when I got out of the service, I did 23 years, half enlisted, half officer. When I got out, I thought I was done. because I didn't think there was anything I needed to fight against. I was unaware of a lot of things. I probably would have been madder then. And I got done. And then a couple years later, never voted for Trump. He came into office, in 2017. And I was like, okay, maybe it was all bluster. Maybe he just was, running his face. Maybe he'll be a, decent human being and guide this country. And that was obviously false. And I remember my breaking point was actually when he went to a G7 or a G20 summit. And in order to get in front of the group to get a picture, he pushed aside a prime minister. And I think it was like Montenegro. I can't recall, but he pushed him aside and then like straightened his tie. My background, and I've been very open about this, I come from a period of childhood where I was mercilessly bullied. And, I have a lot of trauma about that pushed forward. And something in me broke when I saw him do that to another human individual. I mean, I had been pissed at him already, but something in me broke. And then I started to just go on Facebook and I was fact checking the hell out of this guy. I was dropping links. I was dropping, photos. I was dropping reports, just trying to get people to pull out of the cult. Didn't work. We all know that. We were dealing with the QAnon issue at the time. We still are. But when Biden came into office, I actually took a break because we had an old adult, but we had an adult in office, and I could sleep at night not worrying about what he was going to tweet. And so when Trump 2.0 came around, I said, I've got to go back to work. I am not in the military, but I have a voice. I'm going to use it. And then I just started blasting stuff. And TikTok was my primary, conduit at the time. And it resonated with some people. And then I just kind of took it from there. And again, like we talked about before, I'm going to use my privilege as a white male veteran to run my face as loud and as often as possible to stop the ascent of what these guys are doing.
That was part 1 of my conversation with Angry. Check out part 2 on Wednesday. See you then.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.